Hi, my name's Eric. I'll be reading you selections from the e-edition of today's Cape Cod Times. Today's date is Monday, January 12th of 2026. We'll start with the weather, as we always do, and across the Cape and Islands today you can expect it to be breezy this morning. Otherwise, a sunny day, a high of only 39. It's a little chillier than it was over the weekend. Tonight it drops to 29 as the lowest point in the day as far as temps go. Partly cloudy overnight, and tomorrow, Tuesday, mostly sunny, high of 43, a low of 36. On Wednesday, mostly cloudy, high of 48, low of 36. On Thursday, rain and drizzle possible in the morning, high of 44, a low of 30. And on Friday, mostly cloudy and colder, high of 35, low of 25. Some snow may be around at the end of the week. We're not sure about that yet. The sun will rise at 7:07 a.m. It'll set at 4:32 p.m. We'll have 9 hours and 25 minutes of daylight. The moon will rise at 1:50 a.m. It will set at 11:37 a.m. Now, heading to the front of the paper, where they used to keep the lottery results, but because the Cape Cod Times goes to press too early to give you the latest results, they stopped running them. But we had someone ask for them. So, for the numbers game results. So, with that, we go to masslottery.com. If you ask for it, we will try to give it to you. And for the numbers game, drawn on Sunday, January 11th of 2026, in the midday drawing, the results were 0, 3, 9, 3. Again, yesterday's midday drawing for the numbers game, 0, 3, 9, 3. In the evening drawing last night, the one that they couldn't put into the paper, for Sunday, January 11th, in the evening, the numbers were 4, 7, 6, 7. Again, last night's numbers game results, 4, 7, 6, 7. Good luck to all who play, and remember us if you win. From the front page of today's Cape Cod Times, Blazing the Path is the headline. Dennis Group raises money for Atlantic white cedar swamp habitat and trail. This is reported by Marilee Cassidy. In Dennisport, almost 14 acres in Dennisport, including a rare Atlantic white cedar swamp area, could be protected permanently by Dennis Conservation Land Trust. Fundraising is underway to buy the land by February 9th. An Atlantic white cedar swamp is a forested wetland with a dense, primarily evergreen canopy, a deciduous shrub layer, and a sparse herb layer, dominated by mosses, according to the State Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. There are at least 13 in Barnstable, Bristol, and Plymouth counties. Dennis Conservation Land Trust wants to buy 2 properties, a 1-acre and a 12.45-acre parcel. The properties are next to the town's almost 45-acre Plashes Conservation Area. Dennisport's the only village in Dennis without a public nature trail, according to a statement from the trust. Acquiring the 2 properties would expand the Plashes Conservation Area. It would create a 61-acre network of connected conservation land, according to the trust. A plash is a shallow body of water similar to a vernal pool. The fundraising began in November for the $479,000 purchase. Because of a non-negotiable closing deadline, Trust Executive Director David Fryxell said the project is ineligible for state grants and Community Preservation Act funding. The Trust's fundraising campaign has secured private support, including a $100,000 anonymous matching grant. As of Wednesday, January 7th, $185,685 remains to be raised, Fryxell wrote in an email. If the properties are acquired, the trust intends to create its own version of the Atlantic White Cedar Swamp Trail in the Cape Cod National Seashore in South Wellfleet. The purchase in Dennisport would permanently protect the unique habitat and open access to the public, according to the trust. This type of habitat is very rare, Fryxell said during a site tour early Tuesday morning that included select board members. The habitat, he added, changes through the seasons, and it can be stunningly beautiful. Protecting the conservation area will also have regional benefits by helping to protect wetlands and forested swamps that play a critical role in flood storage, groundwater recharge, and storm resilience, according to the Trust. Once the property is purchased, the Trust plans to move to the second phase of the project. That includes building a more than 2-mile walking trail and a boardwalk by the swamp area. Phase 2 of the project is estimated to cost $400,000. Lost birds sent home in style. The other story that's local on the Cape Cod Times front page. Private plan takes rescued avians back to their southern habitat by Zane Razak. 2 purple gallinules, Gallinules, those are tropical marsh birds, rarely seen in New England, are heading back home following weeks of recovery and planning. One of the tropical marsh birds was discovered in a New Bedford backyard, exhausted and underweight during a December storm, and recovered at the Birdsey Cape Wildlife Center in Barnstable. On Thursday, January 8th, a private plane, flown by a New England Wildlife Center volunteer, took off from Norwood Airport to South Carolina, marking the beginning of the birds' journey more than 1,000 miles back to their native southern wetlands. We like to think we go above and beyond for our patients, and we've definitely done some crazy things in the past, but I think this is the first time we've ever had to line up a private flight for any patients, said Center Executive Director Zach Mertz. The flight marked the end of an intensive multi-state rescue effort that started around 10 p.m. on Friday, December 19th. A New Bedford woman spotted the bird, native to wetlands in the Deep South, perched on her air conditioning unit as rain and high wind gusts pummeled the area. Wildlife experts believe the bird, not known as a long-distance flyer, was about 1,000 miles off course and was pushed up the coast during the powerful storm. She called the after-hours line at New England Wildlife Center and brought the bird to the Birdsey Cape Wildlife Center the next day. Mertz said the bird had likely little chance of survival in a frozen New England winter. Staff focused on helping the bird to stabilize. Not only did he make a much longer trip and exert a lot more energy than he normally would have, he also flew himself into an area, probably tracking the low pressure of the storm where there's no natural food sources for these guys. This poor bird was exhausted and just had no way to replenish its energy stores, and so it was really weak when we got it, said Mertz. Staff provided a specially designed enclosure with shallow water and a diet mimicking what the bird would have found in southern marshes. As the gallinule regained strength, its weight increased and its activity level rose. And there's a photo of it. It's a very funny-looking bird. Unusual. I can see why someone would have said, hey, that's not a sparrow. That's something different. It's a very different-looking bird, and it looks like it's made a nice recovery so far. We actually even think that his colors got a little bit more vibrant once he started eating, said Chief Wildlife Medical Director Priya Patel, saying staff had originally noted his muted colors, which could have been impacted by poor nutrition. Meanwhile, as the bird continued to recover, wildlife staff learned that the Vermont Institute of Natural Sciences was also caring for a second purple gallinule that had been discovered there. The two organizations coordinated to bring the Vermont bird to the center's Weymouth Hospital so both could make the journey south together. How to take the purple gallinules home. Mertz said staff brainstormed on how to get the birds farther south. We were just racking our brains trying to figure it out. Do we put them in a car, try to drive 23 hours south that they need to go? But thinking about it, you probably would need to stop overnight somewhere. And then you can't really bring two purple gallinules into the Holiday Inn, said Mertz. The final piece unexpectedly fell into place when a longtime volunteer revealed that he is a pilot, and he offered to fly the birds himself. After some weather delays, the flight finally took off on Thursday. The plane was expected to land in South Carolina, where the Carolina Wildlife Rehabilitation Center would meet the aircraft on the tarmac. After a brief recovery period and final health checks, the birds will be driven by car further south to be released into the more suitably marshy habitat by the southern edge of South Carolina. Releasing as soon as the animal is healthy after rehabilitation is the best course of action, said Patel, because secondary issues can develop and keeping the animal can increase stress. Permits were secured from Massachusetts, Vermont, and South Carolina wildlife agencies to make the effort possible. Mertz said the story highlights just how much planning and medical care and resources go into every single patient. Whether they're from up the street in someone's backyard or whether they're from halfway across the country, every patient comes with its own set of needs and circumstances, and the nonprofit, the people support, makes all the difference for things like this, said Mertz. Moving inside the paper, keeping it local, Market Basket, with a Bourne location, made the best grocery store list by Rin Velasco of USA Today Network of New England. Market Basket, with a location in Bourne, was just named the second best grocery store in the U.S. in a national ranking. The 9th annual Retail Preference Index for U.S. grocery by marketing and customer data company dunnhumby saw Market Basket place right behind Texas-based grocery store chain H-E-B, according to a press release by the company. Saving customers money on groceries is more important in the U.S. than in most countries, with most households making below a basic living wage due to the high costs of basic needs, the dunnhumby website said. This isn't the first time in recent memory that the Massachusetts-based grocery store chain was named as one of the best places to get your groceries, as it was named alongside Wegmans as a popular franchise for offering affordable prices on food in a consumer's checkbook report. The list also included other stores with Cape Cod locations, including Aldi and Trader Joe's. For bragging rights, what grocery stores do you think that New England Titan beat? Well, let's find out. The top 10 best grocery stores in the U.S., according to dunnhumby's. The marketing company said that the 10 best grocery stores in the nation, in terms of retail preference, were number 10, ShopRite, number 9, Wegmans, number 8, Amazon, number 7, Trader Joe's, number 6, Winco Foods, number 5, Aldi, number 4, Costco, number 2, Woodman's, number 3, Woodman's, number 2, Market Basket, and number 1, H-E-B. This is the second time in a row that Market Basket has come in second place in this ranking. Amazon, which is the leading U.S. grocer in 2021 and 2022, dropped 2 spots, while Sam's Club fell 6 places, the press release said. Their rankings declined mainly because the digital pillar became less important in 2025, which had been a key strength for both retailers. This praise comes as the Massachusetts-headquartered supermarket chain is in court in a face-off between former Market Basket CEO and President Arthur Demoulas and the chain's board. The judge's decision is expected to come in early 2026. Need a change of scenery? TF Green has new nonstop flights in 2026 by Rin Velasco. After so much in New England slush and snow this winter already, wouldn't it be nice to go somewhere warmer? Rhode Island's TF Green International Airport grew yet again in 2025, adding destinations in the south to the lineup, according to airport officials. In 2025, Breeze Airways added direct routes out of TF Green to Daytona Beach and Wilmington. That same year, Southwest Airlines added service from the Warwick Airport to Nashville. And there are plans to add 3 new destinations in 2026. Here's a look at what's available now and what's in the works for flyers this year. What nonstop services will be added to TF Green in 2026? Breeze Airways has announced it'll be launching nonstop service to Cancun, Mexico this February, as well as nonstop flights to Columbus, Ohio in May of 2026. Columbus is technically not a new flight as it's resuming service after 2 years of absence. Breeze Airways will be starting one-stop service to Key West, Florida in May as well, according to the airport. What flights were added to TF Green in 2025? 2025 saw the addition of several different flights. Here they are, as well as the airlines providing them. To Bermuda, Bermuda Air. The flight suspended currently due to airline network considerations. I don't know what that means. Daytona Beach, Florida on Breeze Airways, Wilmington, North Carolina on Breeze Airways, Nashville, Tennessee on Southwest Airlines, and John F. Kennedy Airport in New York City by JetBlue. Where can you fly nonstop from Green in 2026? Here are the destinations you can reach without any stops from TF Green this coming year, according to the Rhode Island Airport Corporation. Atlanta, Georgia, Baltimore, Maryland, Cancun, Mexico, Charleston, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Chicago Midway Airport, Chicago O'Hare Airport, Cincinnati, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, Dallas Love Field, Daytona Beach, Florida, Denver, Colorado, Detroit, Michigan, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Fort Myers, Florida, Greenville, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Jacksonville, Florida, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee, Newark, New Jersey, New Orleans, Louisiana, New York City, New York, Norfolk, Virginia, Orlando, Florida, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Punta Gorda, Florida, Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, Richmond, Virginia, San Diego, California, San Juan, Puerto Rico, Sarasota, Florida, Savannah, Georgia, Tampa, Florida, Vero Beach, Florida, Washington, Dulles, Washington National, West Palm Beach, Florida, and Wilmington, North Carolina. And of course, parking is easier in TF Green's parking lot, and it's easy to get there, often much easier than dealing with Logan and all of the crowd control and all of the security and check-in, etc. that goes in. So a lot of great flights from TF Green. If you're interested in traveling somewhere warmer this year, there's lots of them. From the Cape and Islands section, health insurance, pensions, and waste costs drive Eastham budget increase by Denise Coffey. Extraordinary increases in health insurance, pension assessment, and transfer station costs means Eastham will need a $1.1 million override to balance a fiscal 27 budget. That's according to a preliminary budget presentation that was made January 5th to the Select Board and the Finance Committee by Assistant Town Manager, Finance Director Rich Bienvenu. The override is necessary to maintain a level operating budget. Increases in school enrollment and educational costs that go over 3% could trigger additional overrides, he said. School officials will present their preliminary budgets in early to mid-March. It's a challenging budget year, Bienvenu acknowledged. Things will change. We don't know what the assessments of the schools are. State aid assessments could change, but we don't think the municipal side of things will change much. Bienvenu projects a median increase of $252, that's 4.3%, versus last year's $188 increase in real estate property tax. For an average single-family home valued at $890,662, taxes would be $6,969. For the median-priced single-family home valued at $772,972, taxes would be $6,048, respectively. Obviously, average is a much higher number than median price. If the overrides aren't approved, there would be drastic impacts on the operating budget, he said, including staff and service reductions. Bienvenu estimates that health insurance rates will increase by about 12%, but the rates haven't yet been set. Last year, it cost the town $3.7 million. This year, he expects it will cost $4.1 million, a $450,000 increase. The pension assessment has gone up 15%. Last year, the town paid $2.4 million, and this year he estimates it will go up to $2.8 million, a $520,000 increase. Transfer station costs will rise from $760,000 in fiscal year 26 to $869,000 in fiscal year 27, a $109,000 increase. Those combined increases add up to $1,080,000, which Bienvenu rounded up to $1.1 million for purposes of the presentation. Towns are required to have balanced budgets. The preliminary operating budget is $46,869,640, which represents a 2.56% increase over fiscal year 26, or an increase of $1,377,168. The preliminary capital budget is $2,887,500. Bienvenue blamed inflation, supply chain issues, and the bid environment for the increases. The good news is that the town is not borrowing money this year, he said. For more information, you can go to eastham-ma.gov. New Year's Day weather featured Something for Everyone by Steve Heslip. Mark Twain is credited with the saying, "If you don't like the weather in New England, wait a few minutes." He may get the credit, but who hasn't paraphrased it, especially in the ever-changeable season of winter on Cape Cod? The weather on New Year's Day certainly proved the saying to be true. No matter if you stayed up all night, excited about the arrival of 2026, or you tucked in early for a good night's sleep, it was a snow removal morning to start 2026. Several inches of soft powder snow coated the landscape, transforming it into a nostalgic Currier and Ives winter scene. I inherited the clear driveway gene from my father, so was up and out with a snow shovel. A quick task, about 30 minutes, with patches of blue sky showing as the shovel was stowed away. The scenery begged for a first photo of the year, and with clearing skies, why not a drone shot? The sun was fully out as I started the 20-minute walk to Barnstable Harbor to watch the annual polar plunge. By the time I reached the traffic lights on Route 6A, a light snow was falling. That would add a nice touch of winter to the usually bare-ground swimming event. Another 5 minutes into the walk, wind kicked up strong from the west. Shortly arriving at Millway Beach, it was a full-blown whiteout with blizzard winds. Early arriving swimmers were taking shelter in their cars or on the lee side of the bathhouse. A call went out into the maelstrom to just race into the water. The waterproof action camera was balking. It kept turning itself off in an act of rebellion. Not a good photo situation at an event, even at the best of times, measured in seconds, not minutes. It came to life just in time to capture the action. The retreat by all was quick. Ambling home, tormented by wind, the old wool coat carried a heavy snow load. The Cape Cod Times watch cap needed several de-icings. Thankfully, I was able to get a ride halfway home. Patches of blue sky appeared soon after, long before the snow had melted from around the camera. 2026's winter is off to a wild start. Hope for sun, dress for a blizzard. Our next story, historic Coast Guard boathouse towed to New Bedford for restoration by Zane Razak. A historic Chatham boathouse traveled west through the Cape Cod Canal Thursday just after sunset, headed for repairs and renovation in New Bedford before finally heading home to Chatham for its new job, housing a shellfish hatchery. The boathouse that stood on Stage Harbor for over 70 years was the home of the famed motor lifeboat CG 36500. The lifeboat crew rescued 32 men from the wrecked tanker Pendleton off the coast of Cape Cod on February 18, 1952, in what is considered one of the greatest small boat rescues in Coast Guard history. The realist towboat made its way through the canal with a barge carrying the old boathouse on its way to New Bedford, where repairs and restoration will take place. The boathouse was decommissioned by the U.S. Coast Guard in the 1980s and stayed in storage for years. The building has been slated for demolition before a group of preservationists stepped in. In 2009, the boathouse left Stage Harbor by barge for Quincy and was later relocated to Hull in 2019. When it was put up for auction in 2020, preservationists, spearheaded by David Doherty, looked for a way to restore and reuse the building. Jay Cashman offered to move the boathouse to his facilities in Quincy. On Thursday, the boat was being moved from Quincy. In February of 2021, the Chatham Select Board voted to accept the donation of the boathouse. The boathouse will be moved to 90 Bridge Street near the Mitchell River Bridge, and it will be home to the town's shellfish upweller system. In 2024, town meeting approved spending $4 million for the final phase of expanding and improving piers at 90 Bridge Street to accommodate recreational and commercial boaters. The spending package includes the new floating upweller facility, a shellfish hatchery, with its own pumping system, silos, and tanks that will be housed in the former Coast Guard building. There is one obituary in today's Cape Cod Times, dated January 12th. It's of John L. Doretta, Ph.D., of East Dennis, who at the age of 87 passed on January 6th. Dr. Doretta was professor emeritus at Iona College in New Rochelle, New York, where he taught American literature and film studies. He earned his Ph.D. in American literature at Fordham University. As a Fulbright scholar, he taught at universities in Milan and Turin and lectured on American literature and film in Rome and Trieste. He's researched and studied at the Museo del Cinema in Turin, Cineteca Nazionale in Rome, and American Film Institute in Los Angeles. John authored books and articles on American literature and Italian cinema. A specialist on the Italian films of the neo-realist period, his Vittorio De Sica, published by G.K. Hall, was the first full-length work in English on the films of the Italian director. Writing poetry and short stories was a passion since high school days. His creative work appeared in America Magazine, Penwood Review, Avalon Literary Review, Pilgrim Journal, Haiku Journal, First Literary Review East, and other venues. He is survived by his longtime friend Stephen Grubiak and was predeceased by his college chums. A Mass will be celebrated at Holy Trinity Church on Route 28 in West Harwich on Thursday, January 15th at 11 a.m. Any donations in John's memory may be made to one of his favorite charities, St. Vincent de Paul Society, Food for the Poor, or St. Jude's Children's Hospital. There is one other obituary. It's a national obituary, and if you were a music fan in the 60s and 70s, you probably had at some point come across the Grateful Dead. The Grateful Dead's co-founder, Bob Weir, died. Guitarist remembered for his unique artistry, by Jonathan Limehouse and Melissa Ruggieri. Bob Weir, one of the founding members of the legendary rock band Grateful Dead, has died from underlying lung issues at 78. Weir, who after courageously beating cancer died peacefully January 10th, according to a post shared on his Instagram account. A representative for Weir confirmed the post's accuracy to USA Today, but had no further information. Weir is survived by his family, including his wife Natasha Munter and daughters Monet and Chloe, who are requesting privacy during this difficult time while offering their gratitude for the outpouring of love, support, and remembrance, the Post states. In October of 2024, fellow Grateful Dead co-founder and bassist Phil Lesh died at 84. Drummer Bill Kreutzmann, 79, is the only founding member of the band still alive, following the deaths of Weir, Lesh, Jerry Garcia, who died in 1995 at age 53, and Ron Pigpen McKernan, who died in 1973 at 27. And with that, we've come to the end of our reading of the Cape Cod Times for today. We've read all the local news. Today is Monday, January 12th of 2026. This is your reader, Eric, saying be well, be safe, look after each other, and remember our veterans, especially those we've lost recently. Bye for now.